I hope you've got some things that you can help play along tonight and have a bit of fun with whiskey. Specifically, having fun with whiskey that we already have on hand. No need to be buying any new bottles or chasing anything down. Just work with whatever we've already got on hand. See if we can have a wee bit more fun with it tonight. So, I sent this out to patrons, but for the rest of you who are joining live tonight, I'll tell you what I've got in front of me in order for you to play along with some of the wee things, the wee activities we're going to get involved with tonight. I've got some oatcakes, or you can grab some plain unsalted crackers, whatever it may be. I've also got some dark chocolate for fun, 70% cocoa, this happens to be. I've got plenty Glencairns to play along, and also I've got a way to mark them. You know, you can use a pen, a sticker, or branded Glencairns, whatever you want to do to distinguish them. Um, I've got a tumbler as well. And I've even got some ice. We're going to use all of this and a wee bit more to try and have a wee bit of fun with whiskey tonight. As always, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to the vPub. I hope you're all doing very, very well. It's wonderful to welcome so many of you. Yes, tonight is like for those of you who've been watching the Aqvavitae channel for long enough, you might remember a vintage video from back in 2017 where a younger me stood up and shared 10 topics, 10 different ways in order to enjoy whiskey more. Some of the topics that I wanted to bring you on the vPub were individual segments from that video, things that we can expand on and play with. But I realized that there's probably 2, 3, or 4 that are all kind of focused on having a bit of fun. And they're all focused specifically on having fun with whiskies that we already have. So it really doesn't matter what whiskies you use for this. You can use any whiskies to do these wee activities in order just to kind of, whether we're sitting alone and enjoying our drams of an evening, or whether we're sitting with friends or in company or a group, everything that I'm going to share with you tonight is just kind of little tips and tricks that I've indulged over the years and really enjoyed. Some of them, you actually find yourself, you can use them as kind of almost development exercises, if you like, to try and understand whiskey a wee bit more. As I was going through the topics, I realized that I have fallen away from them. I had stopped using these kind of little things that I used to love doing. So that was as much of a motivator to me as anything else, because doing these things again, and even just sitting here and playing with the ideas again, I realized that, you know, I used to just sit and do this. When a new whiskey came into the house, I used to try and figure out how it would fit into the rest of the collection based on using these wee tips and tricks. When I was just kind of sitting contemplative and bored or whatever, I was doing a lot of these wee kind of activities on my own and with company. So I'll share these with you tonight. And the reason that I'm doing this is that the focus of the vPub for this season, when I talk about season, I'm talking about whiskey season, right? I'm talking about from now, kind of run up to Christmas and beyond into the new year. You know, the time that we start to enjoy our whiskey, the focus of the vPub is going to stay focused on community interaction as much as I possibly can, and having fun with whiskey. Just remembering we can be serious with whiskey, we can talk about serious things, and we can critique and we can rant and we can do all of these great things. But at the end of the day, the reason that we're so impassioned about it is because whiskey has the ability to just bring so much fun to our otherwise pretty challenging at times lives, right? So whiskey should always remain enjoyable. So it's just to kind of try and put a wee bit of focus back on that. So most of the topics for this season, well, that'll be the starting point for them. Good. Hoping that we can have a wee bit of fun tonight. Everything's laid out. As I say, I've got my glasses ready. I've got different types of glasses. I've even got a tumbler on the go. I've got some ice there. I've got oatcakes. I've got dark chocolate. If if you've got any of those things, if you're sitting comfortably, if you're able to grab these things and kind of play along, we'll split it into segments and we can kind of see how you guys are getting on doing it as well. But before we get started on all of that, I'm going to do what I always do while everybody's getting relaxed and pouring a dram, sorting yourself out, going finding where your oatcakes are stored or your crackers or whatever you're going to grab, and jump in and see how the beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies are doing. Graham Brown's in and celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 25 months, saying good evening. I'll take another 25 months, please. Thank you, Graham, my friend. I hope you're keeping well. And I'm looking forward to seeing you this very weekend. David Hong is here as well. No comment or anything, just a dram from David. Thank you very much, my friend. Always generous of you. And it's wonderful to welcome you in. Cheers, David. And Jimmy Legg is here, and he's in Scotland. Him and his wife, Angie, are here for the weekend. I managed to briefly meet Jimmy earlier in the week just to kind of welcome him here. I hope he's had a great week, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with him again this weekend with everyone else. People are still calling it Legfest too, even though I've deliberately kind of backed away from that. Kind of not putting any pressure on Jimmy and just making sure that he's just part of the fun this time instead of the focus for it all, right? But there's a gathering in Glasgow this weekend. So at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, day after tomorrow, we will meet up in the afternoon, stay in the pot still for about an hour or so. And then round the corner at Rishi's, we have a dinner booked there. Listen, if you wanted a seat, everybody had to be paid up. The seats were filled, so there's 42 of us going now, and that's booked, and the deposits are paid for all of that. But they have said that they can make space for more, no problem. So if anybody's kind of deciding that they're free on Saturday afternoon and they want to join us for something to eat, then by all means get in touch with me. Send me an email, whisky@aqvavitae.com, or a wee direct message through any of the social channels, whatever it may be. It's £25 a head, and that includes your dinner and I think a soft drink. I think so. Doses to start, and some tasty South Indian curry. And then the kind of drinks, if we all have beers or whatever that may be, we'll split it up on the night. And then after that, we're going to head along to the Bon Accord and have a gathering like we did last year, where there's a wee bit of a bottle share, a wee bit of community camaraderie, and just relaxing with each other for the rest of the evening. And the Bon Accord, we'll get to the Bon between 7:30, 7, I think, somewhere of that order. And I'm looking forward to welcoming you there. It should be another fantastic Barflies weekend. Can't wait. Brian M's bought me a wee dram as well, so good to see you in, Brian. Thank you very much, my friend. Tuning in from the US. I wonder how Jimmy Legg is managing to do super chats. He must have a VPN or something. Thanks, David Hong. Thanks, Jimmy Legg. And thanks, Brian. Cheers to you. All right. Let's see how you're doing. I'm picking up the orange, as I always do. Rob Smith is saying, darn, no dark chocolate. Aye. It doesn't matter. If you've any chocolate at all, give it a go. Give it a try. I prefer dark chocolate with whiskey, but most chocolate works well with whiskey, if I'm honest, in my opinion. We'll get to that a wee bit later, Rob. Whatever you can find, buddy. Gordon Fraser's here saying hello again. I hope you're having a good evening. I am, and it's all the better for welcoming you in here, Gordon. I hope you're keeping well, and I hope things are, especially the weather up in the West Coast, is looking after you. Hellswood is here saying, drams poured, side order of fun on hand. Fantastic, Helen. Looking forward to seeing you and Andy over the course of the weekend. And Ebhead is in saying, evening, Roy. Can't wait for the festivities this weekend. Me either, Rob. Sorry, Rob. Rolf. There's a Robin as well. Fantastic. I've often said Rolf is one of the original barflies. I call him the barfly number one because he was the guy who first created the Aqvavitae Facebook barflies page, but he was also close to being barfly number one. I mean, arguably maybe Doc, barfly number one, Era McFault, barfly number one. There's quite a few, but because he took the action of setting up the Facebook page, and now that's, it's really quite a hive of activity, very welcoming, positive energy in that Facebook group. We need to work hard to preserve that. It's wonderful. But he often gets the moniker of being barfly number one. But I always say that I don't know how legitimate an event it is if Rolfie isn't there. Looking forward to seeing you, big guy. Tim Pills is saying, good evening, Roy. Now in beautiful Orkney and just back from a lovely restaurant. Not prepared, but looking forward to this one. Listen, Tim, don't worry about it. Whatever you've got on the go, if you've got a drama on the go, it doesn't really matter. The things I'm going to share with you tonight are hopefully silly things that you'll at least try once and then decide whether it's of any use to you or not. The September Swarm, Hellswood is saying, yeah, the Swarm, I'm not sure about that word either, but I like the idea of having it every September. And it's always, this year it just happened naturally again. It wasn't any planning by me. Obviously, I think it was prompted by Jimmy coming over again. So it's let's see how many years we managed to get together for a September Swarm, Helen. Listen, can I just pause for a wee second and raise a wee glass for our Helen? She never cracked a light, but her husband did. Helen is celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and I think she's going to be traveling up here on her birthday. So it makes sense for us to raise a wee glass tonight to raise a celebration for our Helen and wish her a very happy birthday. Many happy returns, Helen Widdowson. Looking forward to hugs and hangs over the weekend. Cheers. I hope tomorrow's fantastic for you, I really do. And while I'm at it, we've got another 2 barflies celebrating birthdays too, thanks to the same tip-off merchant, we'll just call him Andy, that I learned about Helen's birthday. And that is our pal, our bottle chaser extraordinaire, our Dramface podcast host, the gentleman that is Gregor McQuee is celebrating a birthday tomorrow as well as barfly Alan Smith. I think both of them, I'm certain both of them are celebrating a birthday tomorrow, 27th of September. So aye, Gregor McQuee and Alan, many happy returns to you both. Cheers. Quite a nice wee old Pulteney in the glass tonight. Oh, a very generous dramming from our pal Peter Lee. My goodness, Peter. Sorry, I can't be there at the Bon on Saturday until after my work. Could you please look after Denise Lee and our lovely friend Amy? Like last year, I would like a sample of Jimmy Legg's tears. Please buy them some whiskey from me. Can't wait to see Rolfie. Fantastic, Peter. Thank you very much, buddy. And I know that you'll be there after your work, come hail or high water. Fantastic, buddy. Don't worry about it. We'll look after Denise and Amy, and we'll make sure that there's some drams for you as well at the end of the night. Jerry Miller as well, heading to the Seattle airport soon. Thank you for all you've done for all the upcoming weekend. See you and everyone on Saturday, and happy birthday to our dear Helen. Jerry, so Jerry's coming over, and this is why I always feel the pressure, because Gino, Kathleen, Graham Young, Claudette, the 4 of them have come over from Canada. Jimmy Legg and Angie have come over from Canada, of course. There's people coming from all over Europe. Rolfie's coming in from Norway and things, and it's just this kind of you're nervous that you're just coming to Glasgow for some food and some drams, but like last year, it's so much more than that. It's just this thing that we enjoy every week on a Thursday night, our vPub time, our safe space. It's manifest, real people, real drams in the same space together, and it's fantastic. And every year I try to remind myself not to stress about these things, that the barflies take care of themselves and it's going to be fine. Max Kreitner is saying, good evening, my dear friend, just in from a tasting, but I can't miss the vPub. Fantastic, Max, good to have you. I'm glad you made it back early from your tasting, and I hope it was a good tasting too. Whiskey Games Matt Bishop is saying, hi Roy, looking forward to Saturday and putting more faces to barfly names. Me too. Listen, if I'm honest with you, I've had a bit of a wobble about it today, because today I've been feeling a wee bit heavy, a wee bit blocked up, a wee bit, I don't know if it's, you hear it in my voice at all. The whiskey's not tasting exactly the same as it normally does. I'm really hoping that it's nothing. I often get this, and the next day it's just kind of gone. But if I'm poorly in any way, don't worry. I'm not going to turn up. But I'm a wee bit nervous. Feeling okay right now, so I don't want to stress anyone out. It should be fine. Doodle the Drama saying good evening. Joining in tonight from home, but from the workshop. Dram's strictly forbidden here, but working on something a little whiskey related nonetheless. Buzzing for the weekend. Arnie, I'm looking forward to meeting you as well. We've not met before, but we'll meet this weekend, buddy. Look forward to it. Chris Pollack is saying, you have too many followers. Of course, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I wonder if you can have too much of this magnificence. I don't think it's possible. It's always managed to keep this really positive vibe as well. It's kind of why I'm never motivated to kind of put out lots of high traffic YouTube content. It's not what I want to curate, right? Jimmy Lang is saying, just Glasgow? I don't think so, my friend. It's the centre of the universe, Aqvavitae. At least it is when we all meet here. I'll go with that, Jimmy. That's a good thought. And I hope you've had a good week settling in as well. You're back in Glasgow tomorrow, I think. Justin Wan is saying, any plans for name tags this year? I didn't make any plans at all, Justin. I didn't make any plans at all. But maybe we'll bring along some stickers or something like that and an ink marker. That'll do fine. Pete Head is saying, even Roy counting the hours before departure. Can't wait to see you, Frank. Frank coming in from the Netherlands as well. It's a bit like Rolfie. It's just like this familiar, big, fantastic smile and welcoming gentleman. It's just fantastic you're going to be there, Frank. Duracourt is saying, Aqvavitae, just drink more drams. The alcohol will kill whatever bug you may have. That's kind of how I live my life, Mike, right? I'm kind of trying to keep it away. Prophylactic whiskey. Saxo Scott is saying, gurgle quickly. Thanks, Saxo Scott. And Jean Kelly's saying, belated greetings, Aqvavitae and all. Bummed to be tied up with a work event, so I'll have to duck out shortly and catch the rest on replay. Jean, it's amazing that you've just dropped in to say hello to us, and I'm grateful to you and everyone that picks this up on the replay. And Whiskey Weekend Dram Harrow is saying, there's that fruit fly from last week. He only makes an appearance when we're live. I think it's the lights. Sorry, Harrow's saying, again, the Loch Lomond's in the glass and making samples. Meeting Gregor this weekend to share. Fantastic. Let me know how that goes. Let me know what Gregor thinks of them. And Mark Chapman is saying, hi all, finally made it to vPub Live after a few weeks. Looking forward to tonight and the weekend. Me too, Mark. Are you going to be joining us this weekend? That'd be amazing. Graham Fraser saying, even around Barflies, just home from Speyside. Graham, I hope that you're going to be able to make it out to join us as well. It would be fabulous. I saw your archaeological activity up in Glenlivet. Fantastic work, big guy. Fantastic. All right, let's get started with this whole thing tonight. Have I taken care of I've talked about the birthdays for tomorrow. I've talked about the gathering for the weekend. But something I forgot to mention last weekend. You see this pile of books over my shoulder? They were there last weekend as well. And I've bought these in the hope that I remember to bring them to the gathering this weekend. And maybe, I don't know, if we'll just kind of do a random thing or a draw but there's a fundraiser going on. So I'm going to bring along some of these books and help Ben, Whiskey with Molly, raise money for, I think it's the air ambulance that he's raised money for. But he's got a wee plan to raise a bit of money for a charity over the weekend. And it's in honour of Kate, the Kate that we lost. Obviously, Callum and Kate, very well known members of our community, the whiskey community, well loved. And we lost Kate a few weeks ago, and it was heartbreaking, and our thoughts are constantly with our friend Callum. But Ben has got a fundraiser on the course of the weekend, so I'm going to bring along these books. What are these books? This is the new book from David Stirk. David Stirk, who did the Distilleries of Campbelltown about 20 years ago. He did, a couple of years ago, he did Independent Scotch, which is one of my favourite ever whiskey books, not just because it's about independent Scotch, but because of the way it kind of maps a lot of the dynamics in Scotch whiskey that a lot of your kind of regular introduction to Scotch books and topics don't really cover. Also with that kind of really candid and direct industry insider perspective as well. Anyway, this book is just out, and you're able to buy this book directly from Stirk Brothers' website. You should be able to pick it up in whiskey retailers and things. It's hopefully going to start to get out there. Some of the distilleries might stock it, I'm not very sure, but it's only £10. And it's this really cool kind of travelogue style. It's kind of a mashup between, Bernard MacDonald, Ian Banks, maybe a little bit of Ian Banks splashed in here as well. But it's typical of David that he focuses a paragraph on that, the book, and then another kind of paragraph that's a wee bit kind of more off-piste and more about his journey in whiskey and just general whiskey insight, don't consider that you're only going to be learning about 21st century distilleries when you buy this book. It's typically layered and rich for David Stirk's type of output. And you might recognize the face that's written the foreword for this one as well, or you might recognize the name behind it. So $9.99 a copy as well. Fantastic value, very generous of David to put it out there at that price. And I hope we can all get behind it and pick up a wee copy and support David and maybe encourage him to put more projects out there in the future. Alan Smith has bought me a dram to say, "Hi Ron, I cannot make it this weekend as I'm spending my birthday with my family. Do me a favour and get Helen a birthday dram." Fantastic. It looks like Andy was spot on, and it is your birthday tomorrow, buddy. Listen, don't ever worry about it, Alan. We will raise a glass again in the future, my friend. Maybe it'll just need to be the next time. I hope this weekend brings a fantastic birthday celebration for you. And I have a feeling that Helen will be well looked after when it comes to drams. Cheers. Max Kreitner as well, huge generous dram. My goodness, Max, I can't be with you all in Scotland, but please make sure to get the barflies some drams from me. Wonderful, wonderful stuff, Max Kreitner. We've yet to welcome you in Scotland. I've been able to hang out with you a few times, but I've had to make it over to continental Europe to do so. Buddy, it will happen one day. In the meantime, we'll get in some decent drams in the name of our pal, Max Kreitner. Hope Christina's doing well, buddy. Cheers to you. All right. First up, I want to kind of frame this thing. I want to talk about two very, very different extremes, if you like. But I also want to mention the fact that they're not extreme because there's any rules or structure or anything. I want to just talk about the difference. And the difference, realizing this, when I first got into whiskey, the realization of this changed so much for me. It changed my perspective. It changed the way I was viewing whiskey. It changed the way that I pursued whiskey. And that is the difference between drinking for enjoyment and tasting for flavor. They're quite different things. I was always just drinking for enjoyment. And, you know, I think most of us do. And I think it's okay. No judgment, nothing. But I'm very aware that if it was wine or if it was beer or a mixed drink, it didn't matter what it was. I maybe acknowledged the first sip, and then the rest of it was just kind of mindlessly drinking. Even if it was very good wine, even if it was particularly delicious beer or a really nice mixed drink, it was the same. It was just kind of drinking. That's fine. However, when I understood the huge variation in whiskey flavor, every sip since then till now has been all about taste, taste, taste. I'm not suggesting that it always has to be analytical. I'm not suggesting that I can't be present and mindful and in the moment and with company and things like that. What I am saying is that when you are sipping whiskey for flavor's sake, that's completely different to me from just kind of drinking. But they are not mutually exclusive things. You can drink and kind of be distracted by how good a drink that you have, whatever that may be. And you can actually enjoy a dram in company and have the whiskey distracting you as well, and pause and be a little bit analytical over it from time to time, but it not detract too much from the company that you're in. So they're not mutually exclusive, but they are different things. Throughout tonight, I'm going to be talking to you about things that occupy both ends of that spectrum and kind of places in between too. These are not rules. These are suggestions. These are not things that are common practice. They're not things that everyone should do or is required to do. These are just things that I have found benefit in doing, but at the very least, I've found a wee bit of fun in doing. It's just about relaxing with whiskey, and it's about finding ways to have value out of the whiskey that we've already got. Nobody needs to run out and buy new whiskey tonight. Nobody's going to be hopefully given any FOMO tonight. It's all just about playing with it. A nice wee old Pulteney, 15-year-old in the glass tonight. I'm not probably able to taste it fully tonight because like I say, I'm a wee bit kind of subdued, but it's still tasting really quite rich and spiced, and I'm enjoying this wee glass with you tonight as much as I've enjoyed anything from the old Pulteney. I think it's 46% ABV, 15 years old. I've had this on the shelf for quite a wee while now. So it's one that I've obviously been reaching past, but I think now that it's made it to the front of the shelf, I'll dust off some of this dust that's on the bottle. You can probably see that. I don't know if it'll focus, the dust up there, and put it to the front, and maybe I'll be tempted to pick it up a wee bit more. Okay, let's start off. I've got a wee dram cam on the go tonight. I hope you like this. And the reason for the dram cam is for no other reason than, let's bring this up, put it up full screen, so that if I'm playing around here with things, you get to see what I'm playing around with. You get to see what I'm doing. I'm not going to be using it a lot, but I think it's something that we can do, so would be as well having it. Interestingly, the software that I use has just oops, didn't mean to do that. I can do that better. The software that I use has for various tiered levels. If I want to continue using this additional dram cam scenario in the future, after the end of this month, they double the price. It's typical of software platforms, right? Once they've got you in, they start to tier it, and they'll always find a way to bump you up and make it ever more expensive. But I'm not going to do that. I'll find other ways to add an additional camera if I need to do that in future. For now, we'll use the dram cam for tonight's exercise and see how we get on with it. It's weird. It's been there for ages and I've never felt any need to use it up until now. But what I'm going to do is start with having fun with one of my favorite objects on this planet. It's so iconic, and that is the humble Glencairn. Just look at this silhouette, look at this shape. It is utterly synonymous with whiskey appreciation, with whiskey drinkers, all of it. I don't know if this is, it is, for me it is, but it is just a perfect piece of design. It's durable, it's comfortable, it pretty much does everything you need it to do, and it's made at a scale that it's affordable too. So you can get these for £5 or less. Most of us collect our Glencairns through distillery visits and events and festivals and various places that we just gather souvenirs, right? But if we ever have to go out and buy a box of 6 or something, it's often £25 or something like that, not too expensive. And every distillery that you go and visit tends to have a wee printed version or engraved version with their logo on it or whatever. You end up collecting loads and loads and loads of them. I must have about 60, 70 more of them of my own. You just collect them a little bit like whiskey over the years. But this is an amazing thing. Let me show you something about it. Let me get the dram cam up for this wee exercise. I've got here my jigger. This is actually a no-nonsense jigger. I hope that that'll focus. Good. Yeah, this is a gift from my pal Vin. And this is a single measure. This is a 25 cl pour. And underneath, we've got the opposite side, we've got a double pour. So this would be somewhere in the order of 50 mils up to the little engraved line inside usually. I don't know if there's a line inside this one. But if you brim it out, you maybe get closer to 55 or 60 mils or something. Anyway, let's do that now. Let's pour, what will we pour? Let's just pour more of this old Pulteney. There's not really much whiskey down there to the side tonight. I'm going to manage to get through tonight with about 3 or 4 bottles of whiskey. Let's do this on the dram cam. I'll take away the banner. So let's clear some clutter out the way here. Let's try and fill this without spilling too much of it. This is a generous pour, right? If I'm pouring this into the top, the double side, there's about 55 to 60 mils. So a proper double measure in a bar, or as I would refer to it, a sofa pour, a couch pour, right? I'm going to take a Glencairn here. I'm going to take a clean Glencairn, and I'm going to do my very best to pour this into that clean Glencairn without spilling a drop. Not bad. Good. Now, have a wee look at the level in this Glencairn. That Glencairn is filled up to roughly just shy of the fattest part of the glass, okay? That's 55 ml of whiskey, so that's more than a double pour. If I was to pour a wee spot more into this to bring it up to 60 mils, just a tiny wee sip more, that should bring us up to exactly that kind of equator, that the fattest part of the glass there. Now, if you want to be kind of fancy and scientific about it, what we're doing is maximizing the surface area of the liquid at the fattest part of the bowl. So we're getting that kind of air interaction with the liquid in the glass and things. But the reason I'm doing that is because if you've poured a measure to the fattest part of the glass, that's a full 60 ml double measure that you're taking to the sofa or wherever it may be. So it's just being mindful of kind of how much is in the glass. But this is one of the things I love about the Glencairn. Have a wee look at this. If you take this Glencairn, let's give us some space here, and you just throw it on its side, tip it over, and at 60 ml, it touches the rim, but it doesn't spill out of the rim. No two Glencairns are absolutely identical. They are ever so slightly different because of the way that they're blown. But because of that little magical lip on the top of the Glencairn, it doesn't spill out onto the table. Why is that a thing? Well, I think it's kind of cool. You know, that perfect measure to the fattest part of the glass, you tip it on its side and it doesn't pour out. And then you just gently roll it. You can do this with any amount of whiskey in the glass, obviously, up to that point. You just kind of roll it about, and that little rim magically keeps the liquid in the glass and it doesn't spill out. But what have we done here? What's the point of doing this? Well, as we've rolled it around the table and we pick it back up, the glass is absolutely coated in gorgeous, thick, oily whiskey. Part of the appreciation of whiskey is, of course, the oiliness and the texture, the body, the weight, whatever it may be. But that's not just about how it interacts on the palate, it's how it appears in the glass as well. I know a lot of people hold it up and they talk about the width of the legs and, you know, the speed of how it drops and things like that. But generally, even on 40% ABV, very, very light whiskies, you're always going to get the glass coated really, really well by doing that wee exercise. And it's amazing how long it takes to start coming down. This is only just coming down now. I'll struggle to get the camera to focus on that. I know I'm going to try and do my best, but you can still see it up the top there, right? Hopefully you can still see. It's only just starting to come down now. That's how thick and viscous and oily whiskey is. Now, what we've done here by coating the glass, this entire glass now is thick with the aroma of whiskey. There's no dishwasher taint here anymore. There's no cardboard box taint. There's no wooden drawer taint. No glass cabinet taint. No taint. It's just going to be whiskey smells that's in this glass now. So what do we do next? You can decide whether you think that this is playful, or you can decide whether you think this is science or analysis. But we take a glass topper. I'm using one of the Aqvavitae ones. You can use a tin lid. You can use a dedicated you can actually buy Glencairn toppers. You can use watch glasses. You can use whatever. But you just cover the thing over. The glass is completely coated in the malt. It's sitting in the glass here. And what's going to happen over time is hopefully you're going to get a real strong build-up of aroma in the glass. You can leave it there as long as you like. What I would recommend, if you've got a flight of whiskies on the go, if you've got glasses and some of the stronger, richer, especially the smoky, peaty whiskies, it's a good idea to have them covered off, and then you're not kind of, that aroma, it's not bleeding into the room and kind of confusing your palate. So it's nice, it's a nice wee tip to kind of cover the glass up and leave those aromas to build up for a wee while. I tend to find it works best, actually, when there's just a little amount of liquid left in the glass. When there's plenty of whiskey in the Glencairn, you're not really getting much. You're going to stick your nose in that, and it's just going to blast you. That tulip shape is going to focus those aromas. It's going to focus the alcohol as well, though. So high ABV stuff can be tricky. So when you first approach it, you just kind of want to, from a distance, don't stick your face right in it. And you can get closer as you become a wee bit more comfortable. 46% ABV. You know, I'm not doing it to be a blender or anything like that. I'm not doing this scientifically in any way. I'm just sticking my nose in it until I can get a decent smell from it. If you were to take this a wee bit further after I've finished this dram, and it's dry, you know, it's the only thing that's left is all the oils and things that's coated the glass. The glass is empty. I call it the lazy git. You cover your glass over again, the empty glass, and you leave it on the side. Later that night, before you go to bed, or even the next morning, you kind of pick this lid off again in the morning, this empty glass, or supposedly empty glass, and you just get this fantastic bouquet of lots and lots of stuff that you probably didn't pick up on the glass the night before when you were enjoying and sipping the whiskey. This is just all these wee things that are possible. Some of it is not exclusive to the Glencairn, but certainly that fill level at 60 mils, 6 cl, and tipping it over and rolling it and things like that. It's just all kind of part of the pleasure of this fantastic wee glass. I hope you're enjoying them too. I won't stick to that tonight. I will be going through some other glassware tonight as we have fun with our whiskey. But generally speaking, the Glencairn is the one-size-fits-all, good at absolutely everything whiskey glass, I think. Ellen is saying, like using a wood topper with a heavily peated dram, wood holds onto the aroma nicely. So you're actually going to be nosing straight from the wood topper. That's an interesting one as well. Arnie is saying, I have a wee stash of Pringle lids as toppers. There's a guy at the Whisky Club up until he bought a set of my Aqvavitae glass toppers, which aren't available for sale right now. Maybe in the future again. He was using Pringle lids. Dave, Precarious Dave, he's often in here, and he would bring that across to the Whisky Club, and now you'll see him using the Aqvavitae ones. Stevie A is celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 54 months, my pal from the States. Steve, it's so good to see you in, buddy. He's saying definitely a reason for using Glencairns. Slantia. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for your generous dram. Thank you for supporting me all these months, and it's nice to see you in from time to time, my friend. I hope you're keeping well. Cheers. And Dave Barnes is celebrating being a member for 28 months. Thank you so much. So if you're there, when I say celebrating being a member of the Barflies, they've joined inside YouTube. I'm supported through Patreon. So the Patreons, the people that step inside Patreon and choose to support me through there, that's how everything can function and work. That's where the funding comes from. The funding that comes through the memberships in the Aqvavitae Barflies, what I do with that is I never, ever share ad revenue with YouTube. YouTube put no ads next to my content. I demonetize it all because I'm already covered by the funds from the Barflies. So you don't ever sit through ads, and that's kind of my thing. I don't like ads, and I'd prefer not to have them. The Barflies mean that that never happens. In return, they get access to cool channel-themed whiskey emoji, and I hope they have fun with it. And that's in the live chat tonight and in the comments underneath. Thank you all for your support, wherever it comes from. Everyone, Chris is here saying, ahoy malt mates, good to have you in, Chris. Hellswood is saying, sorry, I caught that one about the wooden coin. I wonder if that's a last drop coin. It would be one of Chris's, wouldn't it, that you're using if it's a wooden one. Maybe one or two others out there as well. Sherry Canaries in as well. Seaweed World, good to see you. I hope you're keeping well. How are things over on the west coast of Canada? Noteworthy Whiskies just bought me a dram as well. Good to see you. And he's saying, excellent news. I booked flights for my first trip to Scotland. I'll be visiting Edinburgh, Campbelltown and Glasgow with a friend in March for my 40th birthday, and I cannot wait. My goodness. My goodness. Is that your first time? Is that going to be the first time that you're coming across? It's fantastic to have you in. I think that Noteworthy Whiskey is our pal Sheldon. Would that be right? I feel like I'm might be making a stretch there, buddy. But I feel like, is that the first time you're coming? Be great to welcome you. Hellswood is saying the original certified originals topper. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember the channel. It's been quiet for a wee while now. I wonder how they're doing. I wonder how those guys are doing. Right. It was Ant and Nikki, wasn't it? Ant and Nikki. Right, let's move on to the next thing then. So we've got our Glencairns, and I've set up 3 here in advance, and I've asked my patrons to kind of do the same thing, and we're going to run through a wee exercise. And this is something that anyone can do. It doesn't need to be Glencairns, but you need to have 3 glasses that are not... you can't tell which is the difference. So they're not branded or anything. They're clean glasses, and they all look the exact same. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a wee game of blind testing ourselves. As I say that out loud, I just realised that I'm not able to taste anything tonight. But now that I've got the excuses out the way, right, I can just go ahead and do this. It doesn't matter if I fail miserably live on camera. I can blame the fact that I'm a wee bit bunged up. Good timing. Anyway, what I've been doing this for a long time, and I usually do it with 3 drams. So let's imagine you bring a new whiskey into the house and you're just trying to work out how it fits. You grab some other kind of profiles that you think will be quite close to it, and you pour them into Glencairns. You mark the Glencairns, but you mark them in such a way that you can't see what you're sipping. Now, the whiskies I've picked to do this with tonight, we have a flaw, and this can sometimes play into it. Because we're testing ourselves here. We're testing the whiskies a little bit, yes. We're going to see what we think of these whiskies. But mostly we're kind of testing ourselves to see if we can pick up differences. And while we're doing that, we're going to be deciding, do we like it one better than the other? Is it richer, spicier, sweeter, cleaner, brighter? All of these kind of general broad brush things. And a wee bit later, we'll talk about how we kind of dive down into a bit more detail beyond the kind of broad brush kind of tasting notes. But as we compare, I've got 3 whiskies here, and they're fairly random. I've not put a lot of thought into these. And in fact, we'll see a problem immediately, but we can solve the problem as well. I've got an Altmore 10 here. This is a 10-year-old 125 anniversary Altmore. Listen, this probably deserves a wee bit of a shout out. I know I said there wouldn't be FOMO or anything, but I bought this back in June, and I bought it direct from Dewar's, Altmore's website, because they were only selling it through there because this is a special edition bottle. But because it's a special edition, you would expect to pay through the nose for it. There was only 360 bottles. But it's 46% ABV. It's fully matured in first fill bourbon. It's all natural, unchill filtered, no colour added, all of that. It's Altmore, and it's £55 a bottle. And it's still available for sale today. It's a great wee bottle of whiskey if you're an Altmore fan, if you like your kind of clean, creamy, legitimate, honest, natural Speyside whiskies. You can't go wrong. This is a really, really good wee bottle of Altmore. I'm not sure if it's single cask. If it's only 360 bottles or something, no, but I think it's probably more likely to be just a couple of bourbon casks that's been vatted together for a very small outturn. But at £55, that's about the same price as the core range 12-year-old Foggy Moss, right? So they're not asking a lot for it. It's a good wee thing to have, and it's still available. But I've got that one here, and I've got it alongside another brand new whiskey. Again, not intended to give anyone FOMO because I'm just sharing it. I was curious about this. This is Benriach's 16-year-old. Now, I was keen to pick this up because of the price point. I got this on offer at £59 for a 16-year-old single malt whiskey. Decent. The problem is that it's bottled at 43% ABV. It doesn't have any statements about colour or natural colour. But because this is Rachel Barry, you really hope that she hates caramel colouring. So I imagine that she's not put it in this product, I hope, but it doesn't say that on the bottle, so we don't know. And it will be absolute brown form, it will be chill filtered. At 43% especially, this is chill filtered whiskey, definitely. But regardless, I've had a couple of drams out it, and I thought it not remarkable in any particular way. So we'll try it tonight in contrast. But what I've also got on the go is, do you remember I was really, really pleased with this very, very clean and tasty Jura 16-year-old. Let's hold this up there and look at those statements. Jura, age statement, non-chill filtered, natural colour, £70. And I fully expect, a bit like the Benriach, that we'll see this going on offer as well. Anyway, just about to pour these, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a wee colour first. My Altmore is going to be orange. My Jura is randomly going to be blue. And the next colour is red. So, sorry, not my Jura. The Benriach is blue. And the Jura will be red. So, what you can see, though, is that we have clearly 3 different shades. Let's see if the dram cam can help us here a wee bit. I'll line these up. And hopefully the camera can pick up that the Jura is probably just by a tiny nudge the darkest, but both of them are quite a bit darker from this Altmore 10-year-old. And I'll put some white paper behind here so that you can see. These two are almost the same. This one's a bit lighter. So what that means is that while we are sipping these in the glass, it doesn't matter that we can see the colour that's on the bottom. If I put a sticker to match up on the bottom here, I don't see it, but we're immediately going to get a visual cue by looking at the whiskey, and that's kind of going to potentially lead us in a certain direction and confirm or highlight our bias in the whiskies beforehand. So what I'm going to do tonight, just for tonight, for fun, and I recommend that you do this at home as well, but you can easily do it in clear glasses. To remove the colour issue, I've got 3 blue Glencairns. You can get black Glencairns, you can get gold Glencairns, I think you can get red, you can get all sorts of crazy colours and things. I think you still can. A few years ago, when I bought these blue ones, you certainly could. And all I'm going to do is pour the exact same quantity. I'll just pour the 25ml measure here into each glass. And what I'll do is put a wee sticker on the bottom. Our Jura is red. Now, like I say, we are testing ourselves, but we're also testing the whiskies. Benriach is blue on a blue glass. Here we go. I'm actually covering up previous dots on the bottom of these, so you know that I'm a serial. This is a habit, but like I say, it's something I've not done in a long, long time. I'm glad to be doing it tonight. This is the Benriach going in the blue glass. I'm making a bit of a mess here, nothing that can't be mopped up. And then finally, we'll put an orange sticker on the bottom of the last glass. And our Altmore is going in there. Good. Now, in my memory, my favourite of these 3 drams is the Altmore. And the Jura, in my memory, I would put it in the middle. And the Benriach, the most recent one, I would expect to be putting that in last place because of sipping them in isolation. So this is just in my head. And I remain to just wait and see how it plays out. I'm going to clean up some of the mess that I've made by pouring those drams with the jigger. Now, of course, I know what you're going to say. Well, Roy, you know what's on the left, you know what's on the right. And again, I encourage you to do this at home. This is part of the original video way back in the day as well. Let's bring this back up. As I speak to you in a very distracted manner, if I just kind of put my brain into no place whatsoever, I have no idea what order these are in already. I have no clue. So I'm sipping the equal amount of liquid in 3 glasses. Maybe as I tip these and sip these, I can't see anything on this screen, but I can certainly see this on this screen. So as I tip and sip, I'm going to close my eyes so that I'm not able to pick it up. I don't want to. I don't want to. It doesn't matter if I fail here. It doesn't matter if I confuse the Benriach at 43% with the Jura at 46. They're both 16 years old. It doesn't matter if I confuse the Jura with the Altmore at 46%. They're both 46% ABV. Okay, one of them's 16 years old and one of them's 10 years old, but it doesn't matter if I confuse them or prefer one over the other. That's kind of what you want to do, is you want to kind of expose yourself to being in a position where you're tasting and you've got no preconception of what it is. The best should shine through. And even if you can't really decide which one's better than the other, maybe, if you weren't as blocked up as I am tonight, of course, but maybe you're going to be able to taste something that you might not otherwise have tasted when you were sipping, knowing what you were sipping. These are all theories. Remember, it's all just meant for fun. But you can, through focus, when you're in a quiet room and you're on your own and you're doing these things, you can mix up those 3 glasses, even just 3 clear Glencairns. And if the liquid in the glass is all a kind of similar color, you can just lose yourself sipping backwards and forwards. And if you've picked things that are similar profile to each other, I think you will be shocked how difficult it is to actually commit confidently to telling one from the other. Maybe I'm just speaking about someone like a blunt palate with a blunt palate like mine, but you can end up in a situation where you confuse yourself sipping backwards and forwards. We're going to talk about that a wee bit later and things you can do to help that. Seaweed World at Sherry Canary saying, a celebration dram. 40-year-old son finally married his partner he's lived with for 8 years. I now have Italian relatives to add to my United Nations of a family. Well, here's to that. Here's congratulations to you, Sherry Canary, Seaweed World, sorry, and congratulations to your international United Nations family. Cheers. Sounds fantastic. Sounds fantastic. And Justin is saying, I'm going to drop off early tonight, but you're in Hong Kong. You're dropping off late. If you even join us and leave, you're dropping off late. Still stressed to the brim at work. And I'm going to have to work relatively early tomorrow. Have fun, everyone. Justin, thank you so much for coming in and saying hello to us, buddy. And I know that you'll pick it up on the replay. And I hope that tomorrow isn't as stressful as you imagine it might be. I hope it's an easier day for you. Arnie is saying, I played that game a few times, but unwillingly the other way around. PC 10 in one hand, Lechic 10 in the other. And at some point, I didn't know anymore which was which and what was where. It's exactly my point. If you have a Longmorn against a Port Charlotte, or you have a Lechic 10 up against a Benriach 10, you're going to know which is which, of course, extremes, right? But if you choose things that are similarly profiled, even, I mean, I've got the Altmore is 100% first fill bourbon. The Benriach and the Jura is going to be a vatting of some refill casks, some first fill casks, some sherry and bourbon casks. I don't know what the ratio is at all. So you think that should be very, very easy for me from the get-go. But as soon as you start sipping backwards and forwards, it becomes quite tricky. Let's see how we got on. Let's go in with a fresher palate. There's 1 or 2 hacks here that I'm going to use to kind of really play with our palate and cleanse our palate a wee bit later. But for now, we're just doing this wee exercise. No idea what's where. Let's go in and see how we got on. Right, so let's get these glasses coated, because all I could smell there was wooden drawer from where I store these. So I'm doing the thing I've just shown you. I've put the glass on its side and I'm rolling it round. coating that glass in the malt, coating it in the whiskey. These glasses have been out most of the day. I thought they would have aired. I gave them a good shake. Usually that clears cardboardy smells and things like that. But I got a nose, what I felt was maybe my wooden drawer that I keep these in. No, maybe it's the whiskey. Maybe it's my nose. Okay. So this is, I'm not looking at the screen so that you can see which color this is. Oh. It's quite a, I'm struggling a wee bit tonight. Things are a wee bit difficult for me. Like I say, excuse. But that kind of, there was quite a pop there, quite a bright orchard pop. And again, apple and orchard from that one as well. Quite interesting. Okay, so if I'm not live here with you, if I'm kind of doing this on my own, what I would be doing is spending a lot of time nosing, kind of playing backwards and forwards, and I would maybe be also doing it with a bit of, I don't know, a notepad. This is my wee notepad here. I'm going to talk to you more about this at the end, but this is full of my tasting notes, nose, palate, all of that kind of stuff. This is a wee blind challenge I did. You can see these colored stickers on here all the way through. I would like to sit here in front of you and tell you that I do this religiously and this is how I develop but it's not. It's situation appropriate. It's context. It's where I am. It's what I'm in the mood for. Very often I'll just be sitting here in front of you enjoying these whiskies and not really just be focused on being with you, whether it's over a camera or in your company. If I'm sitting and examining, if I want to kind of make a concerted effort to register and think about the whiskey and really focus on it, I need to be on my own. I need to be in a quiet space with no distractions. The earlier in the day, the better. The furthest away from food that you can be, the better. And I sit with a pen and I write it down. You can do it like this, writing it down as well. For me, I can tell that I'm at a wee bit of a disadvantage tonight. I can tell that things are a wee bit just subdued. I don't think it's a virus. I think I've just got this, just a wee bit blocked up. But what's remarkable, again, that's fresh, is how is the pop is how similar these things are. Okay. Gentle wood spice. Okay. The nice whiskey, not particularly spectacular, nice vanilla caramel, sweet, lightly creamy, wood spice, ginger, that kind of thing. Definitely everything is a wee bit, I'm struggling tonight, but let's see how we got on. It's a more balanced whiskey. This is kind of lighter. in the sense of there's less spices and things like that, but there's a richness here. I feel like there's a definite lick of a sherry cask in this one. You've seen what colour I'm sipping, so I have to. There's a definite sense of a sherry cask in this one. I feel like this is either one of the Benriach or perhaps the Jura. Okay. A little bit of dryness, a little bit of acidity on that one, just to make it feel, just sense a wee bit different. Just going to go with it. I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Probably make a big mistake of this. So if I get this right, I think this one should be orange. I think the middle one should be blue. And I think the last one should be red. If I get this wrong, it's okay. I'll feel it. Okay. I'm looking for, is this orange? No, this is blue. So this is actually the Benriach. Maybe if I'd done a second sweep, the ABV might have helped me out there. That's softer. If I'd spent a wee bit more time, let's try the last two. Let's try the last two, because so I know that I've got the Jura and the Altmore. So it's just a case of trying to pick out a Jura from a vatting of sherry and bourbon, or pure Altmore bourbon, right? That should be doable. Even if you're a wee bit blocked up. I actually thought this was the bourbon cask. Wow. Okay. There's an acidity to this, a wisp of funk even. Okay, I feel like this is the Altmore orange, and this is the Jura red. No, the opposite way around. 0 for 3. Right. And at that, we'll draw tonight's vPub to a close. Or we'll encourage you to do the same thing. That's incredible. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And not for the first time. When you pick up something that's a paler color, when you pick up something and you know that it's a bourbon cask maturation, when you know the distillery that it's from, when you know your past experiences from it, your brain is going to taste the same things as you've tasted before, or it's going to take you down a certain path time after time after time. Now, I appreciate, in my defense, I'm rushing this a wee bit tonight. I'm definitely a wee bit blocked up. That's okay. I can taste the differences between these whiskies tonight. I can taste 3 different whiskies. I need to have the confidence to do this in front of you and get it wrong in order to help encourage you. But I was confident I had these pinned by the first nose. Nose. I thought this is easy. Incredible. And now that you know what's what, everything checks. You feel a bit foolish. You've got lower ABV on this one. This Jura is a shapeshifter of a thing. And the Altmore is the one that was giving me the dry acidity and a wee whiff of a funk. Now that I know it's the Altmore, I'm tasting sweet and vanilla and caramels and all the things that you would expect from first fill bourbon. It's incredible. It's so incredible. Anyway, how do I fix this? How do you fix this? When you're sitting there and you've confused your palate, you've been sipping this whiskey and you've been sipping that whiskey, and you sit down with 3 whiskies and you sip them individually, you taste the difference, and you sip them again and you taste them different again, and your palate just ends up in a right old mess. Well, you start to try and reset your palate. You try and recover in some way. And that's what we're going to get on to next. My goodness. I think I saw the stickers move. That's what's happening, Jimmy. That's what's happening. And hopefully, I don't know, can everyone see the difference in colour there? This is the red, this is the orange. Probably picked very, very similarly coloured. And this is the blue. Oof. Anyway, I know that if you pick successfully, and by that I mean if you pick something that's kind of similarly profiled from similar casks, similarly vatted, rather than kind of a cask strength single cask peated versus a kind of widely available 43% official bottling. If you try and get things in a similar category, a similar profile, you might be quite surprised how tricky it is to tell. On other nights, it really is quite obvious, and it's really kind of reassuring. And that's the nights that you are actually motivated to get the pen out and write things down. But tonight, that was a blindside completely. And I was confident. First pass, I thought, got this. My nose isn't that blocked up. Maybe it's a Chichibu Aqvavitae. Jimmy Legg and I were playing this very game on Sunday night. Steve Wilson is saying, secluded like a monastic monk while recording flavour notes. Aye, a wee bit like that. A wee bit, but just in your favourite whiskey chair. Doodle the Dram Arnie is saying, right, I'm driving home now with the vPub on the Bluetooth. No sudden loud noises for the next 20 minutes, please. Arnie, drive home safely, please, buddy, please. No sniper this evening, Aqvavitae. No, I'm not going to be winning any sniper coins tonight. And Eduardo is saying, can't win them all. Great that you tried, though. When I get the misses to blind pour, I get it wrong all the time. Aye, that's a really fun thing to do as well. Just get somebody to go to your whiskey cabinet, set your own rules and parameters, put the precious stuff out the way, the sealed stuff or whatever. Get them to pour, and then you sit there and you second guess yourself because you're trying to guess and match against your collection rather than smell and taste what's in the glass in front of you. What ABV is this? What cask makeup is this? What does it remind me of? What kind of region? What kind of profile? What kind of style of whiskey are we talking about? All of those things, you're all over the place. Occasionally, though, when you get it right, Eduardo, right, it's fabulous, but it's so rare. The Ginger Genius is hope for us all. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a bit gutted if I've given you hope, actually. Orange Will is saying, bless you, Aqvavitae, sending kisses from Speyside. Good to see you, Will. I hope you're very well. It's fantastic that you're in Scotland as well. I hope you're enjoying yourself, and I hope they're looking after you up there. Saxo Scott is saying, all part of the fun, different experiences from the same whiskey within minutes. Welcome to the club. It's definitely part of it. And time for round 2, Roy, Fernando. Okay, let's try again. Let's mix them up, do the exact same thing over again, and watch it have the same problem. No. I know I'm going to have the same problem. I'm going to have the same problem again. I would like to have been able to sip that whiskey and have had a clue what I was sipping. Jimmy Legg is saying, I feel like I only know a bourbon matured Glencairn by nose and taste. That's right, and it's kind of one of your things. And I think that there are certain distilleries out there that are so kind of obvious to me that if you got a classic style, a classic example of the style, and on a good night, that you would be able to pick it out. And when that happens, it's fantastic, Jimmy. It really is. I've just looked at that. The biggest clue that you have is on any blind tasting that you ever do tends to be, believe it or not, unless they're remarkably different whiskies, ABV. You're looking for the softer whiskies, the lower ABVs, and the cask strength ones, and that can often help you kind of navigate your way through a wee bit. And I've got different ABVs here, 2 at 46, and the one that I just looked at there is at 43. And that's the only obvious shouty giveaway that I have tonight. That's the best one. This is the Jura. I'm certain this is the Jura. So it should be red. Yeah. And it's ABV and a depth of age. But it's subtle because you would think that there's a 10-year-old Altmore here, 16-year-old Jura, 16-year-old Benriach. When you know that you're sipping a 16-year-old, you taste the age. You taste it, you go, okay, this is older. And you taste a 10-year-old and you say, okay, this is older. When you have no clue what they are and they're in blue glasses in front of you, suddenly you're going on pure gut. You're just. But if you have the time to sit back and spend a bit of time with it, you can start to. I've not done a very good job tonight, of course, in front of you guys live. But you will be able to, especially if you're able to sit and take notes. Still a wee bit annoyed by that. Objectively, I think the best dram tonight, I'll be honest with you, in terms of a flavour, age, balance, for what it's worth, is probably that Jura. 70 quid. It's the oldest as well. You have to keep this up until you get it right. Well, I looked at the blue one. Because of the ABV, the softer ABV, I'd felt like I'd got it right, and I got it. So by process elimination, I got it right there. But I guarantee you, Mike, if I mixed these up now and had another go at it again, I would feel just as uncomfortable doing it all over again. Julian Rickman is saying, again, a blind pulled my trousers down. Such a great test. We are so influenced by the label when sipping drams. Not even just the label, because even if you go in and try to taste something that you've never had before, you're just going to go on the age statement that might tell you. You'll go on the ABV. You'll go on the profile. You'll go on what you know about the cask makeup, whatever it is. You'll do all of these things. It's very, very hard to strip it all away and just go on pure nose and taste. It's very hard. I was confident tonight, and it's just whiskey just taking your trousers down. You're absolutely right. Julian, it always does it. I was confident tonight, and it just throws such a curveball at you. And I think that it's one of the great things about whiskey is that it does keep you humble. Everyone is saying, unless you have a huge familiarity with a whiskey, how do you even remember everything you have tasted? And blind, you can only judge what you really like. No. Well, yes, okay, if you're going for, do I like this whiskey or don't I like this whiskey? Yes, you're going to judge on what you like, what you prefer, all of these things. But sometimes what you're trying to do is pick out styles or flavors or profiles, even if you're not going into the detailed granular notes. You're just, is this bright and fresh? Is this sweet and creamy? Is this smoky? Is this rich? Is it dark? Is it meaty? Is it challenging? Is it dirty? Is it all of these kind of big, kind of much more generic terms, the terms I would tend to use if I'm sipping with you live on a vPub, right? I'm not kind of going into, I'm not going to write daffodil. I'm going to write, it's kind of floral, right? Whereas if I'm actually making notes, floral's just kind of be a wee bit generic. So you're kind of, what kind of floral is it? Am I in a florist? Am I outdoors? Is it a grassy field? Is it kind of, is it more of a honey floral blossom type note? Is it more of a kind of a bright perfumey spritz type floral note? So you're going to try and want to kind of, I don't know, play that game as well eventually. But you're right, you're going to start to use it as a powerful way to decide what you prefer. Phil Whisky Mystery, who built their entire, that's obviously Phil and Deepa, built their entire channel based on blind tasting, which is just brilliant. I miss it so much. The best blinds are full of shame and confusion. Well, there's no shame. I don't feel shame. I'm a wee bit annoyed because I did feel confidence at one point, Phil. You know how that goes, right? But that's the thing, is that you have to. We all have to do it and know what it is to fail. Yeah. Rob Smith is saying blind tastings are so much fun. That's why I do it. I host a blind tasting every year for this very reason. Jimmy Legg is saying, couldn't be happier myself. Our mutual friend also has squirreled away one of the Aqvavitae Loch Lomond bottlings. Things are going great already, says Jimmy Legg. Which one is that, and which mutual friend are you talking about? You're talking about our Peter Lee. Inverurie Whisky Shop is saying, hosted a training course today that included a blind tasting. Portaleith table whiskey grain came above a 34-year-old. That's the thing, and that's the blinds that I host always turn up a magical surprise. That it's far more common for people to come up to me afterwards and say that they're surprised than it is for people to come up to me and say, yeah, I got that, I sussed that out, I had that nailed, right? Whiskey loves to play with us. Still, when I nosed these tonight, I was like, I'm not blocked up, I can smell the difference here. This is easy. And I got 0 for 3. Even now, I'm not. Fantastic. Jimmy Legg is saying, yes, Peter Lee, and yes, Jimmy's tears. Thanks for making me type that. Jimmy Legg's tears. The JLT bottling, big guy, the JLT bottling. This wonderful stuff as well. All right. So let's move on to the next stage then. Our palate is totally confused. Our palate's all over the place. We've had too many drams. We are able to taste one and then another, and there's clearly a difference there. But the definition has been lost somewhat. We're starting to confuse our palates a little bit. If we have more than 2 drams, it gets even worse. If we have 4 drams, 5 drams, it just becomes incredibly difficult. If you're sitting for a 6-7 dram tasting and you go through them all one at a time, it's quite a nice progression. But often what we do is we leave a little bit in the glass so that we can go backwards and forwards a bit later in the tasting. And very, very quickly, after that initial kind of contrast sip that you have, you very quickly end up confused. And if you're trying to do it in a kind of gamified way, a blind challenge or something like that, you sit backwards and forwards so much that your palate ends up completely saturated and confused. The best thing that you can do is just sip water. Take water in between, freshen up your palate as best you can, and stay hydrated. However, sometimes it's not enough. And these things, when it's not enough, this is the nuclear weapon for your palate, in my experience. It doesn't fix your palate. It's not going to suddenly make you, why has it stopped focusing? It's not going to suddenly make you able to taste lots of things. But what it does do for me is that an oatcake, and I'm going to do something that I really don't do, but I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to take a wee bit of oatcake and I'm going to eat live on air and try not make a lot of noise into the mic. What it does do, an oatcake, is it just soaks up everything. It's a wee bit like, if you liken it to the cask maturation, where you talk about additive and subtractive maturation, right? The conversation between the liquid and the wood. Imagine your palate. That oatcake just draws everything. It's such a dry thing to sip that it just immediately, I don't taste any whiskey on my palate at all now. So it doesn't help us reset everything and suddenly be able to go back and taste 3 and 4 drams all of a sudden, but it'll help us go back to 1. And you only taste that whiskey. and a wee bit of oatcake, wee bit of water, wee bit of oatcake. Go back and taste the other one. Hopefully you get some definition. Go back and taste another one. Hopefully you get some definition. What about, we know that we do this. If you go to a whiskey tasting, the snack that you're going to have in the middle of the table is very, very likely to be a cracker. It's very likely in Scotland to be an oatcake, and it works wonderfully well. I once described it as being a little bit like a cross between chipboard and cardboard, and it is a snack. It is a wee bit like that. But once you build an appreciation for oatcakes, there's nothing like it. They're delicious. They're fantastic things. And that fact that they have such a kind of inert flavor profile is such a helpful thing for resetting your palate as you sip whiskey. It's not a magical tool, but it kind of draws you back to a place. A wee bit like the Charlie MacLane's famous tip about, for him, it's a black, unsweetened, no milk added, but just black, strong coffee, an espresso or something like that. It's not that it suddenly wakens up his palate or whatever, but it takes him back to a reset spot. It takes him back to a place that he can start again. That's the analytical side. That's if you're trying to have your palate at its best place that it can be, because you are taking notes, or because you are in a situation where you want to objectively tell two whiskies apart, or judge two whiskies or more whiskies. What about if you're just enjoying yourself? I would argue that oatcakes do a very, very good job. But for me, one of the best things in whiskey, I like a wee bit of cheese. I like a bit of dry waxy cheese. I really do, especially with a sherry cask whiskey. But I'm going to pour a sherry cask whiskey. I don't have any cheese, but what I do have is some dark chocolate. I don't think this is going to help us analyze whiskey any better, but my goodness, does it help us enjoy whiskey. Let's have a wee sip of this Clydeside Napier, which I think is a fantastic dram. This is fully matured in sherry casks, 6-year-old, for I think about 50 quid, 53, 54 quid, something of that order. 46% ABV, of course, it's all natural. I think it's just a cracking whiskey for the price, and it's just another example of the new distilleries bringing out just fantastic things that's only going to get better. It's already very soft, very easy, very rich. But in my experience, a wee bit of dark chocolate, I'm just relaxing. We're just relaxing. We're just enjoying our whiskey. We're not taking notes. We're not analysing it anymore. For the people out there that don't enjoy chocolate, Petehead Frank. For the people out there that enjoy chocolate, but maybe not dark chocolate, maybe something else that's sweet that you enjoy. What we've done is not strip away with like what we did with the oatcakes, but we've added. My palate is completely coated now with dark chocolate. Slightly bitter, but slightly sweet. Something that I enjoy. And then a sip of the whiskey. It's incredible. It doesn't just taste the spice here. It doesn't just change the taste of the whiskey. It changes the texture. It changes the feeling. It changes the sensation. Everything. The dark chocolate takes away the jagged, high top notes and spice and alcohol. It helps neutralize that. It makes things softer and thicker and more viscous. It makes things slightly richer. It works with all whiskies in my experience. Dark chocolate works with smoky whiskies. It works with really quite young whiskies, sharp whiskies, acidic whiskies, dry whiskies, bright, fresh, ex-bourbon, whatever. It works best as a pleasurable experience with a sherry cask whiskey like I'm having tonight. But it is just a delicious, wonderful way to maybe put on a bit of weight while you enjoy whiskey. I think you have to think of it a wee bit like the oatcakes doing a subtractive job, and something like a dry waxy cheese or a dark bitter chocolate doing an additive type job. Julian Rickman is saying Tamdu 15 with 75% dark chocolate. Oh my word, love it. I'm glad I'm not alone, Julian. Fantastic. Fernando saying, agree with Roy, Aqvavitae pairing whiskey with chocolate works fantastic. Also, cured cheese tends to go quite well. Exactly. And I think that what we've worked out is that if it's the softer, sweeter cheeses, it can be tricky. But for me, the absolute top tier is a good quality Parmesan. Graham Fraser is saying, I've tried a new tasting reset technique at Speyburn Distillery this afternoon, nosing fresh coffee beans. That was about 6 or 7 years ago. That was on fire on YouTube. You know, all the YouTube channels had for the blind tastings and things. You might remember I used to do a rotational blind tasting challenge with other channels in a collaborative way. They all had coffee beans. That was the reset. One of the other things that I found in the end to work just as effectively, because we don't always have coffee beans on our desk or our tasting table or wherever we may be, is just to simply nose or smell the back of your hand or your arm or whatever. Just something that's a reset. Just it's a weird thing. Something that the coffee beans give you the contrast, understand how it can work. But for me, I'll often kind of just do that, and hopefully it's discreet so that people don't. But it works. It seems to work for me, and then you go back in again. We all find our wee things, but yeah, the coffee beans thing absolutely works. It gives you that. It's not going to enhance anything, the coffee beans, but it gives you that return to reset. That okay, now you're going to go back in again, not having nosed one whiskey against another whiskey, but you go back to the coffee beans, nose a whiskey, go back to the coffee beans and nose the other whiskey. And it gives you that kind of starting foundation. Saxon Scott is saying some people apparently like a cigar with their whiskey. Again, just as a pure pleasure thing, right, Saxon Scott? What's your take on tobacco? Does what does it do to the taste of the whiskey? P.S. I am a non-smoker. For 20 years now, I have been a non-smoker too. So, unfortunately, I can't give an opinion on it. I understand it. I can get why people would want to have a cigar, that flavour experience with whiskey, and I can understand how it would be fantastic. But as a non-smoker, I've never spent any time with it. What kind of cheese do you classify as waxy? Parmesan. It's not particularly waxy, but a mature cheddar as well. Another waxy cheese would be Manchego, Spanish Manchego, which is a sheep's cheese, but I love it. I think it's fantastic, and it goes really well with whiskey. Inverurie Whiskey Shop is saying, the great Stuart Buchanan once told me that it's harder to get food pairing wrong than it is right. The trick is to make sure the whiskey is fantastic. Yeah, some people like sweet with whiskey. Other people like savoury. Other people like bitter. I've tried lots of things, but sherry cask and Parmesan is up there, and sherry cask and dark chocolate is up there. Arne is saying, when I want to settle in for a more in-depth whiskey evening, I make sure I keep some coffee aside from the morning, just cold. It sure works wonders, especially after dinner. Yeah, cold coffee is a popular thing. I've not tried it myself, but I can understand why it would. Looking forward to Isle of Oysters and an Isle of Dram and the next week. So we're getting closer to talking about food and whiskey, and I have to declare that food and whiskey for me has never really become a thing. I don't know if it's the high ABV. I don't know if it's just because of how much I love whiskey on its own. I can maybe have it before dinner. Certainly I love it after dinner, so less aperitif, more digestive. But for me, whiskey with food, I'm up for trying it. I love kind of smoked fish and Talisker or coastal whiskies or something like that. It works very well, but for me, wine is so much better with food or just water. Anyway, so we've tried our chocolate, we've tried our oatcakes, we've understood how it works and how it doesn't work and what might work for us. Maybe I should have had a wee bit of cheese here, but for tonight's purposes and for sitting out on a table for the entire duration of a whiskey tasting, chocolate and oatcakes tends to work a wee bit better. But what if we want to just have fun and relax and we don't want to analyze anymore? Let's roll out the tumblers. We can talk about glassware. You can see that I've put my sherry drama that I poured tonight. The Napier has gone into one of these Whiskey Fair glasses. These kind of tall stemmed copitas, which I do love. We've been talking about the Glencairn. I've got ISO tasting glasses here, copitas. I've got Rastals. I've got the Spiegelau Schnifters. I've got lots of different whiskey glasses that I love. But every now and again, how many of you pour your whiskey in a tumbler? Now, I appreciate that a lot of you would have used a tumbler back in the day, maybe before you had a Glencairn or something. But how many of you use a tumbler today? Really? How many? Let's go back to my old Pulteney that I started tonight with. Let's pour just a teeny wee amount in the bottom of it. In fact, to tell you what I'm going to do, even better, I'll grab the jigger. Where is the jigger? Here. Let's pour a measure into the jigger and fill it up to the top. This is a full pub pour then. Unless you go to the pot still or the Bonaccord where they give you 35 instead of 25 because they're generous and cool. And I'll hold this up to the main camera so you can see here. It looks like there's nothing in the glass whatsoever. That's a full measure in the glass, right? This is actually the glass that's in that original video from 2017. It's my favorite rocks glass. I'm glad I've still got it. What's amazing about a tumbler is that where the tulip-shaped Copitas and Glencairns narrow and focus all the alcohol up to the top, you have this kind of dissipation happening in a tumbler. We're not talking about analysis here, but you have suddenly the ability to get your face right into the whiskey. And the alcohol burn, the sense of alcohol or potent alcohol is hugely reduced. Quite amazing. And with it being a tumbler, one of the senses of enjoyment is because that tulip shape means that when you sip from a Glencairn or some of the wee schnifters or the wee ISO glasses, it's such a small opening that when you sip, you have to tip your head all the way back. So there's a sense of extra effort in it. But with a tumbler, you just... so much more comfortable. I'm not suggesting that we ditch our Glencairns or our ISO glasses or Copitas or whatever in favour of a tumbler. I'm just talking about context, mood, and moment. It's different. It's going to change. Scare you all now. What about if I take the dram that I've poured into my tumbler and take a decent sized ice cube and just drop it in. Now, I have not poured the whiskey over the ice. You can do that, it's no problem, but I've just dropped the ice into the middle of the dram. It would normally be, if I'm honest, a slightly larger dram as well, something that I was maybe going to take to the sofa. This is pure indulgence for me. No analysis, no kind of thinking too much, just literally sip by sip. Every single sip will be different. The ice hasn't cooled all of the whiskey yet, so there's a warm layer. And then a wee cold lick comes through, and there's a layer to the texture as well. It's almost like a hot and cold thing, even although the whiskey isn't. I mean, it's room temperature. The ice is freezing. There's still lots of flavour. It's obviously much more broad. It's kind of sweet and creamy and a wee bit of spice and things. You're not going to sit down and analyse your whiskey all of a sudden, but it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous way to enjoy a whiskey by just throwing it over a wee bit of ice, or even better, from my perspective, dropping the ice into the whiskey when it's in the glass. To get the best effect, the biggest whiskey cube that you have, the biggest block of ice that you have, and slightly bigger pour than I had, a couch pour perhaps, and it's fabulous. It's really, really just a treat. I love it. I love it. Look, I'm not suggesting that you crack out your precious stuff, but don't use your cheap stuff for this either. In order to get the best experience out of the glass, you need it to be a really good quality whiskey, a nice, big, thick, oily whiskey, especially a cask strength whiskey. And just watch it sip by sip dilute over time. And the contrast between warm and cold changes over time. And by the time you finish it, and you'll finish it quicker than you imagine, I promise you, it's an express way to enjoy your whiskey, in my experience. But it's a fabulous way to have fun with your whiskey. So I just got to say, love a tumbler for a Bailey's Irish Cream and Ice, but not for Scotch. Can't warm it easily. Can't nose it as well from a Copita. But it's a different drink. We're doing a different thing. No ice to Pulteney, says Whiskey Weekend Dram. I knew this would trigger people. Only bourbons. You can't say that unless you've tried it. Whiskey with Molly saying Cadenhead 60.4% Craigellachie. Glenlivet in a tumbler with a large ice cube in the glass now. Wonderful. Love that cold pop. And it's the contrast, isn't it, between the room temperature whiskey, the warmth and the richness of the whiskey, and that cold, clean water and ice that comes through to contrast it. The Ginger Genius is saying, this was how I had my first whiskey with a Glenlivet 12 or 15 years ago, and I absolutely loved it. Indulge yourself from time to time. Go back and have it every now and again. We're not going to drink whiskey for the rest of it. We enjoy whiskey for flavour, and we love to analyse and taste and contrast. We love all of these things. We love what whiskey does for us. But for me, it's so much about enjoyment and about whiskey reminding us of it's just good to be alive. And my ice cube is in the shape of a Death Star from Star Wars Aqvavitae. Even better, Ben. Even better. Ian Bruce is saying mug, tumbler, or even a wee cup that comes on a flask. It depends on the environment, the company, the liquid, not the vessel or how it's enjoyed, unless you're evaluating it seriously. Perfect, Ian. We're not going to... I think that so many people have said, oh no, you don't drink whiskey like that. I'm sorry, what? I don't do what? You don't put water in whiskey. You don't put ice in whiskey. You have to drink whiskey from this kind of glass, that kind of glasses. And just what? What's the environment? What are we doing here? Are we sitting down with a pen and paper? Are we thinking about it? Are we making notes? Are we taking notes? Are we on our own? Are we focused? Or are we just relaxing in company? Like I say, there is a mix of all of these things. You go to a club night, you're relaxing company, but you're also kind of focused on tasting the whiskies too. They're not mutually exclusive. It's beyond telling somebody how they should or shouldn't enjoy their whiskey. It's us remembering that there are multiple ways for us to enjoy our whiskey. And every way that we enjoy our whiskey, or we try to enjoy our whiskey, teaches us another way, reassures us that we are already doing it the way that we enjoy it most. It's just about keeping things fun. It shouldn't be serious. Whisky with Molly saying, wow, Jamie Jazz, thank you so much for such a generous donation. $200 for Scottish Mountain Rescue. Listen, Ben, if you want to share the link, please do share the link. Whisky Weekend Dram Harrow is saying, now you've had me with the cast strength and ice. You have to try it, Harrow, and come back and let me know, even if it's an old Pulteney buddy. And Veruri Mike is saying, we're getting too serious. Are we getting too serious about whiskey drinking? I'm not, or I'm trying not to. But I think sometimes the more money that's involved in whiskey, the more it costs us to attain the whiskey, the more effort that we put into tracking down whiskey that's not very accessible and things like that. I think dynamics like that can help it become a wee bit serious. But I also think that people stepping in and deciding that there should be rules. I understand that there should definitely be guidelines, and there should be understanding, and there should be descriptions of context and these kind of things. But the idea that we tell people how things taste best is, and I think that can often have a side effect of making things a wee bit serious. We don't want whiskey to be like that. We want whiskey to be just pure enjoyment. What else did you ask here, Mike? You said topic potential. Aye. Graham Fraser saying, my pet hate is whiskey drinking vessels are those tiny plastic cup samples at some distilleries. Yeah, the duty-free ones, the wee kind of thimbles you get and things, and yeah, but it's better than out your hands. It's better than nothing. It's better than having it with a straw. I think that these really high-end kind of luxury airports and things like that are selling the whiskies for ridiculously high prices, and then they offer you in a little plastic thimble. Why not just kind of have a rotation of Glencairns and a dishwasher under it? I don't know, but you're right. There is the link here. And this is going to be part of the fixture of the weekend. So I'll ping that link up there in the hope that we can all raise a wee bit of money. This is, but by the way, Ben is behind this. He's taking care of this Whisky with Molly on his own. He's bringing along a little. I don't know. I don't want to tell tales out of school. I don't want to spoil anything, Ben. I don't know if anybody knows what you're doing at the weekend to raise money over the course of the gathering in Glasgow this weekend. But I'll certainly donate these books as part of it. Hopefully, we can weave that in as well, and we can all. And I'll be happy to step in and make a donation as well. Sugar Kitty, good to see you, Sugar Kitty. Saying, actually, I'm available for trying a whiskey via a straw. Yeah, thank you for your adaptability. Inverary Whisky Shop has gifted 5 Aqvavitae memberships as well, and it's gone out there to Ginger Genius, Danford, O'Marney Tiger, Raptors Fan 2323, and Sam Swindells. Thank you very much, Mike. Inverary Whisky Shop, you're a star, buddy. Cheers to you. It's very watery now, but it's cold and watery and still tastes gorgeous. In all honesty, says Jimmy Legg as he buys me a big dram, the most fun thing about whiskey is watching someone else enjoy it. Yes, as long as I suppose you're present and enjoying it too. That vicarious thing. Absolutely, Jimmy Legg. Here's to that. I've got one more tip for everyone tonight. And I've kind of saved the best to last, the most profound, the biggest difference that, and I'm so stubborn. I just, it wasn't my thing, but there are things that have happened recently in my life that has made me do this a wee bit more. And it is the biggest biggest difference in my whiskey appreciation. Jimmy, thank you very much for your dram, buddy. Thank you. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you this weekend, of course. Finally, before we get into an absolutely brutal quiz at the end, I do a lot of questions in advance for the quiz at the end. I kind of have a collection of questions, and I'll go in and I'll take these questions and I'll use them from time to time. But, you know, often I curate these questions because they're all very similar on a topic or a theme. So I've got a lot of them, and I'll bring them in, then I'll adapt them and modify and change them. And hey presto, I've got a 10-question quiz and it's ready to go. As I'm setting up of an evening, I'll look at through the quiz questions and I'll go, oh wow, I've picked all the easy questions obviously in the past, and it's just the hard ones that are left. That's what happened last week. And yet some of you still managed, albeit not while we were live, after on the replay, to score a 10 out of 10. The knowledge is incredible. You're still able to do it. Let's always keep the vPub quiz at the end challenging so that it means something when you get that 10 out of 10. Let's keep it fun. Let's keep it lighthearted. Let's not take that too seriously, just a wee bit like our whiskey. Occasionally, I will bring a vPub quiz at the end that's going to be softballs and much easier, just to kind of keep it fun. But I'll never be Menno. But I think the last couple of quizzes, and I suspect that maybe the quiz tonight is a wee bit closer to Menno level. That said, I hope you'll still stay till the end and join me for a wee bit of a challenge tonight. Finally, I shared something with you tonight. I had to look for where I stuffed it, but I stuffed it in this wee, this is where it stays on my keyboard tray that sits under my desk. This wee black book. All I do is I put in nose, palate, and kind of just general sense of the whiskey. Any notes, any inspiration that I feel about it. And it's just page after page after page after page. Let's just go into, let's pick a random page. Springbank 10-year-old, November 21 bottling. I describe it as a fruit bomb, sharp mango and syrup, caramel sauce, poached pears, a hint of white chocolate, creamy oats, overnight oats, white grape juice, honeydew melon, prosciutto ham. And I've often, I do mention an ashtray and wood shavings here as well. And this, just these, please, this is something I never did. I tried it and I didn't get on with it, but now I've got this wee dedicated book. It's a book I can take with me. I can carry it. So if I'm going to a particularly nice special tasting, it's in the backpack. I can pull it out. I can make some notes. I can record the whiskies that I'm sipping. I argue that do not record data that you're never going to use, that has no value. If you record data for just for the sake of recording data, it's just wastefulness. And that was my thing. That was my thinking about notes. I'm not going to go back and read those notes, so why would I write them down? I never understood the impression that it would have on me, the development, the focus, the thinking about it, the processing, and the ability to help me remember the dram. I need to continue. I need to listen to my own words here. I need to do more of it. I need to have access to one of these things, a flavour wheel. This is Whiskey Magazine's flavour wheel, by the way, but I've got Charlie McLean one sits up here in the wall, so the desk is usually turned around the other way, and if I'm stuck as I nose a dram, I look at the flavour wheel and I go round and I go round and I go round. Eventually you go, oh, okay, I've not looked for that. That's what I was looking for. This is a visual prompt, and it works fantastically well. You can use a flavour map. You can have your own kind of scale where you go rich to delicate, where you go smoky to light or whatever. You can make up your own flavour map and plot your whiskies over I've got this fantastic idea about gamifying this very concept of a flavour map in the future that I'd love to try. What it does is it helps you focus on what's in front of you. in a way that you would not normally do because you're trying to write something down. Don't force it, only write down what you can actually get. After a few months of doing this, you'll go back to the start of your notes and realize how much more confident you've become. Your vocabulary, it might not be apparent as you tune into the vPub. I appreciate that. It's very, very different as you're sitting in front of a camera and doing it live. But when you're sitting in a contemplative way in front of a dram with a pen in your hand, your vocabulary, your focus, your thoughtfulness, your process, everything becomes better and better and better. The takeaway from tonight should be that whiskey, all of its enjoyment needs to be fun. But if you can find a serious aspect, chasing a bottle, securing the bottle, getting yourself a bargain, sharing it with friends, finding a new whiskey, writing about it in a way that makes you enjoy it more, having it over ice, finding a new way to mix it or eating it with something, drinking it with some kind of food that makes you enjoy it more, whatever it is. Surely that's a positive. Surely that's better than it was before. Surely that's a way for us to have more fun with the whiskey that we potentially would have already had on hand anyway. Ian Bruce is saying, notes on the iPhone or similar apps are handy on the hoof. Perfect, absolutely. Even to add a photo to the note of the dram or label. So if you're in Google Note or Apple, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, you've got a note-taking app that you can snap a picture and take some notes. Even if you never go back and look at it again, you have solidified the experience much more than you otherwise would have. Jimmy Like is saying, I made my own flavour map out of Serge Valentine's notes. I only understand half of it. A lot of Serge's notes are very, very personal to Serge and his environment and where he lives and things like that. But we still love reading it, right? The Ginger Genius is saying, Aqvavitae, why are you trying to be Menno? I don't intend to be Menno. I don't think Menno tries to be Menno either. He just ended up being Menno, and that's what it was. Brutal, what did you call last week's quiz? And Rob Smith is saying, well, let's see. I do try to help you a wee bit with the questions and things and themes. Ian Bruce is saying, sorry, I picked that one up. Didn't it's jumped back down again, Ian. Yeah, trust me on the quiz. Just go with it. Shout at me after it's finished. Okay, good stuff. Really looking forward to this weekend. The gathering on Saturday. There's a quieter event at Peter's on Sunday as well. I know that's sold out. I'm attending. I wasn't part of the arrangements there, but I'm now hosting a fantastic wee tasting for it. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Please remember that if you miss this gathering, there's another one in November around the Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend. And once this one's out the way, I've got so much details to share with you about the structure of that weekend as well. Everyone, it'll kick off afternoon of the Friday, the 8th of November. The festival is on the 9th, and then there's a tasting hosted by me that's hugely oversubscribed on the Sunday. But that Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend, I'm doing the very, very best I can to give everyone options to get involved so that they can get involved in this community, this fantastic thing from the Friday afternoon through the Saturday and into the Sunday. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to this weekend first. Gino is saying, I like your quiz better. Well, Gino, hold that and see how you got on tonight. Okay, fantastic stuff. Let's bring the quiz in. Remember, you're only playing against yourself. You only need to share your score if you want to. If you're struggling, you can lean on the community, the very, very knowledgeable community, and you can gradually build up your whiskey knowledge through them because they are fantastically knowledgeable. Does that work? Yes. Quiz at the end. What have I got in the glass? I've got a wee bit in the Napier and the tulip glass. I've got a wee bit of the old Pulteney and the tumbler. And I've got something in here. I think that's the old Pulteney as well, isn't it? The bigger measure I poured into the Glencairn. Good luck, everyone. It's all multiple choice. There are a few asshats. I think there are a few more asshats tonight, but they're not quite as bad as they usually are. Maybe there's just a wee bit more of them. Good luck, everyone. Question 1. Which of these brands have a year in the 19th century embossed into their glass bottles? It's been a theme in recent quiz at the end questions. The branding, I like it. But I'm asking you, which of these distilleries, or these brands rather, has a year in the 19th century embossed into their bottles? A. Loch Lomond, B. Craigellachie, C. Benromac. There is a wee banana skin here. Often you'll all enjoy a freebie in the first question because they'll all be correct. Occasionally you need to watch out for the banana skin. Ian Bruce is saying B. Jimmy Legg is saying B. Lachlan McKenzie is saying A. Daniel Key, good to see you, Daniel, is saying B. Good to see you, Lachlan, as well. Daisy Leland, who I think's travelling to Scotland this weekend as well. Going to be good to see you again, Daisy. She's saying B. Tom Elmer is saying B. Lassie Hot Oatsman is saying B. And Mike Molasses is saying B, along with Petehead Joss. Lots and lots and lots and lots of people saying that Craigellachie has the 19th century embossed into the glass bottle. Hellswood is saying A and B. Oh, I'm going to be hated, but maybe not. Loch Lomond was founded in the 1960s, but the original Loch Lomond distillery was 1814, so it has it embossed on the label. Benromac also has a 19th century date, 1898, embossed on the glass bottle. Craigellachie, 1891, has it debossed, not embossed, debossed. So if you answered B, of course you're right as well. Of course you're right. If we were to ever use the vPub quiz at the end to argue the difference between embossing and debossing, it would be a wee bit silly, right? But absolutely, it's a freebie to start with. Loch Lomond, Craigellachie, Benromac, they all have it, either raised or indented into their glass. Mikey Hayes in as well saying wow. Tony Nelson saying I almost lost it. That's what I was hoping for. Tony, you're bossy, says Frank P. Head. Absolutely. Question 2. The Malt Whisky Yearbook 2025 drops next week. The brand new edition drops next week. How many previous editions are there? How many previous editions have we enjoyed of Ingvar Ron's Malt Whisky Yearbook? A, we've had 14 editions before, B, 19 editions before, or C, 22 editions before. Clearly, there can only be one answer to this one. Aaron Rao, that looks like a new name, Aaron. It's nice to welcome you in. You're answering A. Maybe you're on the last question. If you're not live, if you're not, if you find that there's a bit of a lag or a delay, just kind of refresh your YouTube window, and it should bring you up to the live stream so you can participate in the quiz. Well, it would be embossed on the inside, says Tom Elmer. That's fair enough. But then it would be 1981. It would be the opposite way around, Tom. But you got the point. If you said B, you got the point. And Tom's saying B for this one as well. Mikey Hayes saying B. If in doubt, go for the middle, says Trevor Hedge. Trevor, it's nice to welcome you in. I wonder if it's the first time I've welcomed you. Perhaps it is. But it's a good strategy as well. Go for the middle or follow the crowd. And it looks like all of the crowd seems to think that there were 19 whiskey yearbooks before this one. Yes, it is the 20th edition coming out on October 5th, I think they start to be distributed. Looking forward to it. And there are 19 malt whiskey yearbooks, of which I have 18. I am missing one. If anybody can help me secure the 2006 copy, I would be eternally grateful. Question 3. Which of these brands today features a creature on the cork of the official bottlings? I'm going to give you 3 brands. Only one of them features a creature atop the cork of the official bottlings. Is it A, Clynelish, B, Tomatin, C, Glenglassaugh? Jimmy Leg is saying creature. Yes, creature. Yep, I mean creature. Where's Roy from Norway is in? Good to see you. Where's Roy? Antonio D is in. Good to see you. Stevie O is here participating. Stevie, I've noticed you've been in from the beginning tonight as well. I hope you're keeping well, buddy. It's nice to have you in here. The One Glassman Warner is here. Des is here. I always worry about the amount of folk that I miss throughout the chat as I'm gassing along. Dave the Brave looks like a new name, Dave the Brave. Actually, I feel like I've maybe welcomed Dave the Brave before. I'm not sure. Certainly, I feel like I recognise the wee icon there. Alistair McPhail is in as well. Fantastic, Alistair. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. Sid Martin is here. Jimmy Jazz not making this trip this time, of course, Jimmy, but we'll see you for Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend, buddy. Scotty Mac 4 going for B. I can tell you, so many of you are absolutely spot on here. Clynelish just has a generic black and natural cork. Glenglassaugh has initials, the double G thing, but Tomatin has a creature. That is an animal. It is in fact an animal. I've got a wee picture here. This is atop the 18-year-old. This is it's a boar, but it's actually a hogshead. That's what Tomatin have as the creature on the cork. They occasionally have it elsewhere on their branding. They also have lions on their branding and stuff, but that's what Tomatin has on its cork. Well done, everyone. Question 4. Which of these distilleries first distilled and filled in 2014, meaning a 10-year-old could theoretically be launched this year? Listen, I don't have any idea that it's definitely going to happen. I'm just suggesting that if they wanted to, if they were motivated to or able to, they could theoretically do it. We're looking for a 10-year-old whiskey. Could that come from A, Ardnamurchan, B, Ballindalach, or C, Kingsbarns? Which of those distilleries could theoretically launch a 10-year-old whiskey in 2024? Rob Smith celebrating 3 out of 3. I might quit while I'm ahead. He's saying Tony Nelson the same, Graham Fraser the same. Rob Smith also drawing attention to the fact that there's banana skin on this one. Yeah, it's an easily avoidable banana skin. I hope to be proved that that's the case anyway, Rob. James Morgan suggesting it could be C along with Whiskey with Molly and Ian Bruce. Glenn B, Hillswood, all saying C, Fernando saying C. Whereas Nicholas, Tom Elmer, Graham Young, Stevie O, Lachlan McKenzie, Daisy Vleeland, Mick Molasses, One Glassman Warner is adamant, Papa Q, Rob Smith, Josh Kennedy, Jimmy Legg, Kyle Taylor, Daniel Key, Mop Brother Ray, Mark Chapman are all demanding that it's A. You all know that it's A because Ardnamurchan have already released a 10-year-old whiskey. They released a single cask. Cask number 10 was released as part of the Adelphi thing for Whiskey Fringe. It was reviewed on Dramface on Monday this week. They've already released a 10-year-old. Kingsbarns was founded in 2014, but they didn't start filling casks until 2015. Ballindalach in September of 2014 started to fill casks, and thus Ardnamurchan and Ballindalach could both theoretically release a 10-year-old this year. We don't know if either of those distilleries are actually going to release an official 10-year-old. We hope that at least one of them does. It would be fabulous. But if you answered either A or B, give yourself a point. Graham Fraser, the picture question is coming up next for you. It's supplied by you, buddy, but I've manipulated it in such a way that you can still play along. So if you do answer the picture question and you do manage a 10 out of 10 or whatever your score is, it's a legitimate score. But it means I've had to turn the picture question into a bit of an asshat. Here is a picture of a distillery. The asshat logo is there. Beware. You need to focus on this and work out where it is, but that's not what the question is. I'm going to give you 3 options, 3 facts about this distillery, and you have to pick which one is correct. This distillery is the first ever Johnnie Walker distillery. Or B, this distillery has 1 core official bottling at 15 years old. Or C, this distillery was recently sold in 2018. Daisy is saying Cardew, question mark. Ian Bruce is saying A. Black Fen is saying, I visited Ardnamurchan this summer and the distillery tour guide said they plan to release a 10-year-old next month. Well, Conrad, when you see these leaked labels from the label approval agencies that they have to submit, there is a 10-year-old AD floating about there in the ether, but I have no intelligence on that yet. It would be something that I would definitely want to track down. I'd be excited about that. Sid Martin, Daisy, Jimmy Legg, Jimmy Jazz, all saying A. One Glassman saying A if it's Cardew. Papa Q saying B. Des is saying A. Graham Fraser is saying A. And Daniel Key is saying follow on the crowd, A. Daniel, you know the theme. If you're struggling a wee bit, follow the knowledgeable barflies. Recently sold in 2018. Clearly, I'm kind of angling at Glenallachie there. 1 official core release. Maybe expecting people to look at this and think it's either going to be Dalwhinnie, but Dalwhinnie have other core releases too, so they're maybe going to think it's Benrinnes. Benrinnes is on a hillside. So yes, this is Cardew. It's one of Johnnie Walker's 4 corners. And in 1893, it became the first distillery to be owned by Johnnie Walker, or the original Walkers. So the answer was A. That is Cardew. Spot on, Desi Leland. Well done. And it is the first ever Johnnie Walker. So she got that absolutely right. Malt Brother Ray celebrating a 5 out of 5 along with Sugar Kitty, Gino Camo, Where's Roy, Orange Wool, Jimmy Legg, Rob Smith. Rob is saying thanks, Barflies. Fantastic. Daisy Leland on 5 out of 5. Graham Young, Des. Peter Lee, 5 out of 5 as well. Alistair McPhail, 5 out of 5. Terrific stuff. It's going to get trickier from here on in. Question 6. The phrase, a nip of the Bucky Road, can be found embossed on which official bottlings? Which brand is associated with the phrase, a nip of the Bucky Road? A. Benriach, B. Craigellachie, C. Altmore. I'll make a confession. When I read this on the bottle, this very day, I forgot which brand this was and misappropriated it, but the one that I thought it was is not on the list. You guys are so knowledgeable. Fernando is saying, going with you guys, C. James Morgan is saying C for sure. Hell's Wind is talking to Gregor. Time for a dram. Is Gregor in? That would be very cool if Gregor was in. We're not going to see him this weekend, but we'll see him in November. So many of you are going for C for Altmore. And I can actually hold this up, can I not? I don't know if it will focus, but you're absolutely spot on. If you can see it just down in the bottom here, I don't know if it's going to show a wee nip of the Bucky Road. Altmore. Spot on. Which means that if you said C, you're on 6 out of 6. Alistair McPhail said C. Lachlan McKenzie saying C. Mikey Hay, Sugar Kitty all saying C. Terrific. Question 7. Antsweld is an anagram of a distillery located where? Antsweld. Where is Antsweld? Antsweld is an anagram of a distillery in Australia, or Antsweld is B, a distillery in Germany, or C, Antsweld is an anagram of a distillery located in the USA. I'm going to leave this for a second to give you all a wee chance. Tommy Elmer is saying now that's the difference between the Bucky Road and the Foggy Moss. I know, that's right. A lot more of the Foggy Moss, a wee nip of the Bucky Road. Sometimes a brand can have too many wee phrases, right, Tom? Good to see you, and buddy. How's life up in Alaska? Ben Whiskey with Molly is suggesting that it's the USA. This quiz is brutal, says Chris Everwind. Listen, buddy, it's just amazing to see you here. I think you've been here since that the video that spawned this whole concept for a vPub tonight, the original 10 Ways to Enjoy Whiskey More. I feel like you've been around since then. Aaron Gray saying no, it's C. Some people have worked it out. Sugar Kitty is saying it's owned by Remy Cointreau. Sugar Kitty is on the ball. Foggy is the village. It's in or nearby, says Ian Bruce. And Graham Fraser is going with the crowd on this one and saying the USA. Tommy Elmer is saying lovely, soon to be very white, talking about Alaska, waiting for the snow to come in. Tom, you need to send me an image, send me a picture. Just how crazy does it get? Okay. Antsweld is an anagram of Westland, which is, of course, in the northwest USA. I wonder if Gregor McQuee managed to get that. Hardly near him, but it's certainly a local distillery. Question 8. One Glassman Warner saying 7 out of 7. Oh my God, let's keep going. 7 out of 7 for Daisy, Stevie O, Des, Orange Wool, Gino Kumo, Rob Smith, Jimmy Legg, Sugar Kitty. Let's keep the wheels on this thing. Let's see if we can take it over to at least someone is going to get a 10 out of 10. I suspect maybe not though. Question 8. Which of these world whiskey brands has not yet been nominated for an online Scotch Whisky Award? Which of these world whiskey, and I'm putting world whiskey in quotation marks there because it's a clumsy way, but it's from the perspective of the Scotch whisky community. So everything that's not Scotch world whiskey, I mean, it's not the best way to phrase it, but anyway, which of these has not yet been nominated for an OSWA? A, Yamazaki in Japan, B, Teeling in Ireland, or C, Four Roses in the USA? Which of these brands has not been nominated for an OSWA? Malt Monk is in? Really? Gabriel Welding, I can see speaking to him. Good to see you, Gabriel. Hoping to see you in Glasgow, buddy. But if he's speaking to Malt Monk, he's speaking to Justin, and I've not seen that name popping up. So this means not in the world whiskey category. I mean, in any OSWA, absolutely. This question goes, it doesn't really mean you need to worry about the category. I mean, in any OSWA category. Sugar Kitty, thanks for clarifying. Almost everyone, and Warner, One Glassman, is saying A, please. I love it. I love it. Ginger Genius, Peter Lee, Lassie, Jimmy, Stevie O, Mikey Hay, Aaron Gray. Good to see Aaron, Des, Desi, Lachlan. Almost everyone, well, Daisy and Lachlan are saying B here. B? Bruce is saying B. Do you want a minute to change your minds, folk? Almost everyone is saying A for Yamazaki. Four Roses was a nomination in 2022. Also in 2022, Teeling was a nomination. Yamazaki has never been nominated for an online Scotch Whisky Award. Lachlan swooped in, so did Daisy, and they changed and switched to A. Petehead is saying, Daisy, you're just in time. Okay, let's keep the wheels on this. We need somebody to get a 10 out of 10. We don't need it, but it'd be nice. Stevie O is celebrating an 8 out of 8. Alongside Rural Orange Wheel, Mikey Hay, Malt Brother Ray. Okay, we've still got quite a few in the running here. Question 9. In the Malt Whisky Yearbook, there are 2 distillery maps. Which of these distilleries appears on the smaller map of Speyside? So I'm going to give you 3 distilleries, but I need to know which one actually appears inside the Speyside distillery map in the Malt Whisky Yearbook. You don't need to have the Malt Whisky Yearbook to know this. Think. A, Speyside Distillery, B, Dalwhinnie Distillery, or C, Benromach Distillery. So we've got the map of Scotland with all the distilleries, but in the Malt Whisky Yearbook, because of the concentration in Speyside, they have a smaller map that's a kind of breakout map that just has listed the Speyside. Let's say that most of the Speyside distilleries, but there are Speyside distilleries that exist outside of that map. Tonight, I'm asking you which one exists inside that map. A, Speyside Distillery, B, Dalwhinnie Distillery, or C, Benromach Distillery. You're all answering very confidently, despite the fact that there is an asshat and a banana here. Stevie O's saying not read the book. Stevie, you need the Malt Whisky Yearbook. You need the Malt Whisky Yearbook just to enjoy whiskey more, just to have more fun with Whiskey Buddy. But to play the quiz at the end, you will be, if you can commit the Malt Whisky Yearbook to memory, you'll be in very, very good standing to compete at the quiz at the end. Okay. Almost everyone has got it right. And Lachlan Mackenzie is clarifying, saying Benromach and Forres. Absolutely right. Dalwhinnie is actually in the bigger map because it's just outside of the Speyside region on the map, but it is considered part of Speyside, as is some other distilleries such as Knockdhu. Speyside is down close to Kingussie. So it's even further outside of Speyside than Dalwhinnie is. And Benromach is absolutely in Forres and absolutely features as part of the Speyside map. Well done, everyone. Well done. The asshat at the end is still an asshat, but maybe not as much as an asshat as you're used to. Who's on a 9 out of 9? Who can see it maybe over the line? It's a horrible last question. It always is. It always is. You need knowledge and a wee bit of luck and a wee bit of community support in order to get a 10 out of 10. Jimmy Legs on a 9 out of 9. Warner one Glassman is saying, oh my God, personal best so far. Orange Wheel is on a 9 out of 9. Oh, it's jumped. Oh my goodness. Malt Brother Ray 9. Stevie O is saying a guest, but a 9 out of 9. It's fine, Stevie. Daisy's on a 9. Where's Roy's on a 9. Sugar Kitty on a 9. Palpitations for Des on a 9. Ah, incredible. Graham Young on a 9. Fantastic, Graham. So many Canadians in Scotland right now and all doing very, very well on the quiz. How's Gino getting on? 8 out of 9. He's just one away, Still super impressive, Gino. Okay, here's the asshat at the end. Slightly different take on an asshat, but it's still a difficult question. Which of these distilleries might we consider the most remote? By that, I mean the furthest away from all others by road miles. Which distillery is the most remote? If you had to drive from this distillery to another, you would have to drive further than any other distillery to get to the next distillery. A, Bladnoch in the Lowlands is the most remote Scotch malt distillery. B, Lochranza on the Isle of Arran is the most remote Scotch malt distillery. Or C, Ben Nevis in the Highlands is the most remote Scotch malt distillery. I think I took down some notes for these. Tom Elmer is saying Aqvavitae is that an evil laugh knowing half of the nines are going down. No, I actually like to celebrate nothing more than folk getting 10s or even 8s or 9s on a really super tough quiz at the end. I hope I didn't make an evil laugh, Tom. Menno has been officially retired, says Julian Rickman. No, he'll be back with a vengeance. Malt distilleries are also grain, says Pete Head. No, we're sticking with malt distilleries for this one, Frank. I should. Well, we've only got a choice of. But I hear you. In order to journey to the closest malt distillery, just to clarify. So, do water miles count? Tom Elmer is asking. Nope. By road miles, it actually doesn't really come into it, but by road miles specifically. I would have said Highland Park, but I'll say A for the win, says Warner. Well, Highland Park is only a short walk, well, a medium walk from Scapa. So that's not very remote. Scapa and Highland Park together are both remote on the Orkneys, but they're close to each other. Trevor Hedge is saying thinking A, but going with C. Matt Fulick is in. Good to see you, Matt. He's going for C. Malt Brother Ray's going for C. Bruce Bernard is going for C. Wow, what about Harris? Well, Daniel, I can tell you that consider Harris and where it is, how many miles in order to get to Avanjarek. And I know that Avanjarek might not be operating right now, but it's still listed as part of the distillery count. So Ted Brooks is saying C. Where's Roy is saying C. Anyway, Daniel, it doesn't matter. Harris isn't an option. So which of those is the most remote? Where's Roy is saying C. Ted Brooks is saying C. I can tell you that Bladnoch in the Lowlands is 39.4 miles from Ailsa Bay in the Lowlands. Loch Ransa on the Isle of Arran is only 25 miles from Lag on the Isle of Arran. Ben Nevis is our most remote distillery, which is 42.6 miles from the closest neighbour, which is Dalwhinnie. Incredible. Right in the centre of the map. In 2024 exists our most remote distillery. So if you answered C, like so many of you did, you might be in with a chance of sneaking a wee 10. Come on, who's got the 10s? There's guaranteed at least one of you going to get a 10, but it's not going to be easy. Orange Wool Rule has snagged his 10 out of 10. Congratulations, big guy. While you're in Scotland as well. Terrific. Oh, well, says Sugar Kitty, celebrating a night, still fantastic. Thanks for the donations tonight. Now at £307, Barflies rock. I'm going to drop in very, very shortly, Ben, and help that along. Yeah, again, 10 out of 10. And another no 10 out of 10, says Mikey. Hey, oh no, another 9 out of 10. Was it the last one that got you? I'm so sorry, Mikey. I'm feeling really bad now. Let's just bring me in here. 10 out of 10 for Ted Brooks. Ted, that's amazing. Fantastic. Trying to look for others before it jumps. 10 out of 10 for Roy in Norway. Fantastic. It's not nearly as bad as we thought. Congratulations to the 10 out of 10, says Ian Bruce. Looking for others. Desi, congrats to the 10 out of 10s. Did you not make your 10? One Glassware Warner is saying 9 out of 10, but it still feels like a 10 to me. Fantastic, Warner. Be so good to see you again, buddy. I hope you're coming back to Scotland soon. Ginger Genius is saying, can't make this weekend, so I hope you all have a great time. That's a wee shame. I look forward to welcoming you in the next one. Fab vPub this evening, Roy. Cheers to see you on Saturday with all those wonderful barflies. I got an 9 out of 10 on the quiz, says Mike, with 3 ass hats winning. Absolutely. Got 9 here too. Boo, says Graham Young. So close, but so fantastic. Anybody that got an 8, a 9, or especially a 10 on tonight's quiz is just kicking out of the park. listen, a 5 out of 10 is the normal pass mark. And I think the vast majority of you did that because you're all super knowledgeable barflies. I don't know how many of you I brought anything new to tonight. I didn't bring anything new to myself. Like I say, I did all of these things in a video, a 15-minute long video, almost, 2017, almost 8 years ago. I had to remind myself tonight. I had to remind myself that this is fun. It's happening a lot right now. We sometimes get caught up in the nitty-gritty, the chase, the minutiae, the politics maybe, the controversy, is it up or is it down or is it somewhere in between, and how much is this and how much is that and everything. It doesn't matter. As a community, we work together to map out ways to keep whiskey fun. I don't know how much I succeeded tonight with my silliness, the wee habits that I've developed over the years, but it matters not. I've shared something, and some of you will try it and some of you will not. I guarantee you that you are beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. You'll still manage to find a way to enjoy your whiskey. I have no doubt. I can't wait to raise a glass with you this weekend, to shake your hands, hugs, all of it. Can't wait. While we do that, we'll think of all the barflies that couldn't make it, that might make it in the future, and we'll all look forward to hanging out together again next week. And until then, I'll remind you all that you're very dearly loved and say thank you and Slanchava. Cheers, barflies. Here's to Glasgow this weekend. Two more sleeps.